Manchester City are still alive here. Balotelli, Aguero! Back, Fuchs. And the ball in behind Damian Vardy! It's 11! It's heaven for Jamie Vardy!
You are an ostrich. Well, your head must be in the sand. Is your head in the sand? Are you flexible enough to get your head in the sand?
Now the fans are shouting every week, Louis van Gaal's army! Louis van Gaal's army!
Feet after a fabulous start. The game just got away from you there.
I have nothing to say.
Nothing to say about the game at all.
Drama from day one! This is the league we want to watch!
Oh, Sam. Oh. We're back. The narrative pod, Sam.
The narrative pod.
Our least favorite, but somehow the most popular with the fans.
Backed by popular demand. The people, they
Yeah.
love it. They need
We
it.
love to break down the games. People don't want to hear that, apparently. They just want to hear our hot takes. It's what people live for.
Yeah, exactly. They want to hear us talk about the U.S. versus Ghana.
That's a great game.
Wonderful game.
Ghana's down. They're down bad.
They are down bad. You know, it's... Who could believe it? A team starting Jordan Ayew is bad.
What about Andre Ayew? Is he still around? Only for Forest?
No, he was not in the team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Good enough to get in Forest, but not Ghana.
So anyways, back, like you said, narrative pod for all the wonderful viewers out there. What do we got to kick it off with?
Well, first off, we got to cover that it's going to be match weeks 9, 10, 11, and 12 before the next international break. So that we're kind of, going off that, what's happened so far, and obviously looking ahead to those 4 fixtures before really the last international break until February?
I was going to say, how are there so many international breaks?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's normally this many, but feels like they snuck an extra one in on us. But
Truly
apparently, alas, we still have an extra one to go.
Mm-hmm.
So we got one more to go. Then we'll be set for a good while. I think it's until February. I could be wrong, but I'm 99% sure it's until February.
Well, I'm banking on you to have this information correct. Otherwise, I'm going to have to...
Otherwise, we're all going to look a fool.
Break your kneecaps.
Pretty much. Let's get right into it, Sam. I always like to start off these talking about awards. Manager of the Year award, a little early to talk about it, and it typically goes to whoever wins the league anyways. I'm really interested that this year we have an actual race for Player of the Year award again, Sam.
That is true.
I listed, and I sent them all to you, the people that I think that right now have a genuine case for Player of the Year. Do you think I left anyone off? I named 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys. Do you think I left anyone off?
Yeah, I don't see Pedro Neto here.
I was thinking because we have a topic coming up for Player of the Year for each team that we have.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about putting Wolves in there, and I was going to give you my hot take is that it's Hwang Hee-chan as their Player of the Year.
Hwang Hee-chan.
I think it is. I mean, their issue, I don't want to get too much into it, but Sam, their issue is they don't have a goal scorer for how long. He's actually scoring goals this year, therefore it's him. They always had chance creators, never had the chance scorers. But that's neither here nor there.
I'm going to respectfully disagree. Another one I think maybe some people would say, the team in first place, Heung-min Son.
Okay. I feel like you'd have to look more at the defense, and I don't know I guess it'd have to be Pedro Porro more than Son, because let's get into it. My front runner right now has to be James Madison. It's got to be James Madison. He's just absolutely killing it, and he's the most influential component to a machine that's in first place. It has to be said. Now, if you want to go Son or Madison, pick your poison. I would say Madison's been better. I think he's been all around the best player. I think if you go off metrics just as far as like match rating and stuff, he has the highest match rating of any player on a per game basis. But you would maybe say Son over Madison, or you just include Son as an honorable mention kind of guy?
I think I just include Son. I think
Okay,
both could
that's
be
fair.
on it.
That's fair. I had Saka, and this is in no particular order. I just kind of went down that table. Saka next. Would you say Saka over Odegaard? Is that fair?
Here's a hot take. I'd say Saliba,
Saliba. Okay,
and
I
I'm
get
not
it.
ashamed.
I get it.
The
I think
attack
it's one of
just
those things where Saka's performances haven't been as good as years past, but in terms of results and stats, still
Mhm.
being just as good because
Yeah.
he's still getting goals and assists. It's just he's maybe not doing it as aesthetically pleasing, and Arsenal has been a little more reliant on their defense than attack this year. That attack hasn't looked quite as good as last year, but
Yes.
I mean, part of that's going to be, Martinelli hasn't got it going. Part of it is Trossard hasn't been quite as good. So, I think given the fact that Arsenal's attack hasn't been amazingly spectacular, I think Saka being the best component of that attack is a major component
Hmm.
for them. And also, part of it, as stupid as it sounds, he's just kind of the face of Arsenal, I would have to say. So part of it that would play in. Not for me, because I'm a purist, Sam. Whoever the best player is,
Yes.
I'm down for it. But I think people would lean towards Saka.
Well,
This
I
one
mean,
might be
also
controversial.
the
Oh, go ahead.
the academy aspect to it as well.
Yeah, that's
into
fair.
the academy. So,
Yeah, English tax, English bias, perhaps, maybe a little bit.
yes.
Feels like every opponent or opposing fan loves Saka too. So
Well, how could you not?
I don't.
He's a good lad.
Uh, Rodri. That's pretty controversial given the fact he's hurt. But we saw how important he was when
You mean
were
suspended?
clicking. Yeah, yeah. Um, but without him, I mean, it's just they don't look even like half as good, Sam.
Yeah,
It's just not the same.
I
This
think
is like
that's
strengthen the
absolutely
case that he's
spot on.
missing games.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say.
Trippier, rough first couple games, and now since the first international break, he's picked it up. Looking real good. Newcastle kind of rounding into form. Part of it is Newcastle had some tougher games too. Mo Salah quietly going about his business, having another great season.
Yeah.
Joachim Anderson might be the ultimate out of nowhere potential guy for it.
Yeah, that's an interesting pick. But
He's
Crystal
been one
Palace
of
have the most clean sheets so far.
yeah, and I think it's no matter which metrics you look at in eye test, they just have at least a top 4 defense. And Palace are kind of hanging around their top half the table right now. I think he has to be just for consideration. James Ward-Prowse, best player in West Ham, 7th place West Ham right now, kind of catching people off guard, playing well. I mean, how can you say that he's been anything other than a terrific signing, Sam?
Absolutely. I think personally, I might just say Jared Bowen.
Okay,
Just personally, just
that's
so I
fair.
can disagree with you on every single selection that you've picked.
Well, good. Well, we normally agree too much. That's our problem.
Yes, we need to be more
We don't.
controversial.
Yeah, exactly. And then Holland to wrap it off. Don't care what people say about him not being as efficient.
Yeah,
He's
he
still
sucks.
scoring goals. Yeah, exactly. Right. So those are the 8 I had. You would have Son and Saliba to round out if you wanted to make it 10.
Yes.
If you had to pick one
Saliba.
right now, I think in form it has to be Madison for me.
Yeah, I agree.
But obviously these things change. I'm
Now,
just glad that it wasn't too egregious that I missed too many people for your liking.
see, I have a problem though because you missed someone very important.
Who's that?
Sam
Carlton Morris?
Johnston
Sam Johnston.
leads the league 4 clean sheets.
Hey, keeper's got to get some love out here, right?
Yeah. Also, second missed one, Ukraine Bolt. The man's on fire. He scored a
He's
goal.
killing it. He did score a goal, and he scored a goal for Ukraine. I would be worried, Sam.
Be
You got to
worried.
line up against that man this week.
Yes, sir.
I thought you were gonna say that I didn't put Raz in there.
Yes, true. He's been cooking.
He's been cooking, but he is nowhere near team of the year so far. All right, let's get some team topics in here, Sam. Let's continue the player of the year talk, but specific to each team.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just a few. When we did mention that a couple of these people were on the list just for player of the year, but I want to just get your take as far as the specific team goes. So we'll list a few teams, and we're gonna go through the player of the years for each of those teams right now. Sam, let's start off Man U. I wanted to pick really kind of marquee teams, but even if they're not good, like Man U right now, I just want to get your take. Who would you say has been their most important and influential, impactful player on their team so far this year, Sam?
Johnny Evans.
Might as well.
Honestly, this is a really hard.
Tom? I know. I tried to make it as hard as possible for you.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just like Bruno Fernandes by default. But he hasn't been very good.
I think I might have to go Hoyland. Is my initial thought. Is what I thought. And he hasn't even been like that great. And he's had a couple unlucky things as far as
he hasn't even scored a goal yet.
yeah, he did, but it was disallowed, and there's a couple things going on. I don't know. It's really tough when you think about it. But Sam, who you got? Give me it. Need to hear it now.
What? I said Bruno Fernandes.
You want to go Bruno?
Yeah.
You're going Bruno. Oof.
I think you have to.
I guess.
I mean, who else? Wan-Bissaka? I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. He's locking everyone down.
Lindelof?
Hey, they want to extend him. They can't let him leave for free. That's where Man U are at.
Well.
Yeah, I guess it's Bruno. I guess you don't really have a choice, and he hasn't even...
Just by default. That's it.
Yeah. Man City. Would you go Holland or Rodri?
I think it's got to be Rodri just for the point that you brought up earlier. I mean, you take him out of the team, and immediately 2 losses.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen where Holland has been out of the team, and they find goals from other sources.
Together a bit. I think people would kind of consider Alvarez for a bit, but he's a bit too hit or miss for me. To where people who love Alvarez kind of bring him up when he's popping off, and then when he's not, you don't hear. It's just crickets from those people.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's the same. It's virtually the same thing as Holland, and it's like he has more impact on the game. It's like, yeah, because he plays out wide and he's further back. Holland's at 9. Like, I don't know. Do you want a TV show for your take on that? What are you talking about? Obviously, but all right, Sam. Arsenal, and you were saying for Arsenal, you're thinking Saliba over Saka.
Yeah, I think it's got to be Saliba. The attack has not been clicking so far this season. Yeah, I think Saliba, he hasn't put a foot wrong so far this season. So I think he's been fantastic. I think also probably my second pick would be Declan Rice at this point. He's been excellent.
Yeah, I think it's still Saka for me, but you're talking about how the attack has been kind of lackluster. He's been the one kind of shining bright spot that's constant for the attack. And I think that there's more talent so far this year in form kind of surrounding Saliba in the defensive aspect. Whereas, like I said, a lot of out of form guys in attack, which kind of means, Saka's still putting up the same numbers yet. He's not having as much help as he has in the past.
Yeah.
Also with Gabby Jesus being, in and out of the lineup, and they're rolling with Eddie Nketiah, and I don't know. It feels like there's a lot of flux in the attack, and the one constant is Saka,
Yeah.
and I don't know. It feels like the defense is just rock solid no matter what. And Saliba is the most important piece to that, but still, it's one of those things where it's not like Ben White has been out of form this year
Yeah.
as compared to years past and stuff like that. So that's really my reasoning. Not to mention he's got Raya and or Ramsdale to kind of support him back there too if he has to be bailed out. So I just feel like it's Saka for me. But um no call for Kai Havertz.
Good one. Good one, lad.
Maybe
Good
maybe
one.
later in the year. Maybe later in the year. Aston Villa. Player of the year for Aston Villa, Sam.
Aston Villa. Let's see. Let's see. Let me take a look at their squad and see what we got cooking here. Just to
This is a
lay
tough
the
one.
cards out all on the
This
table.
this is definitely a tough one because
You
there's
know.
many aspects you can look at it. Whether you want to go Kamara in midfield or Doug Luiz, or you want to go attack because Watkins has popped off for a little bit, but it's been kind of all or nothing
hmm
in terms of attack. Diaby's been fantastic for them. There's many avenues you can go. Matty Cash has had quite a season so far.
Yeah, I think for me it'd be Doug Luiz holding down the midfield. He's been very good so far, but Ollie Watkins. Yeah, I mean that's a real toss up between him and Watkins. You feel like they're like right there with each other, and Diaby is maybe just a half step behind there. He's been excellent, as you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like I said, this was a real interesting one when I picked this one because it's like it could be, you know, a bunch of different options.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I think that
as
just
well.
kind of sums up Aston Villa as a team right now. They're not relying on one player. It's very much a team effort.
Yeah, oh, 100%. There's definitely a lot of balance throughout their squad. But I think I'd have to agree with you. I think I'd go Doug Luiz, but it's not a, you know, I would say if you had to make me pick Doug Luiz or you make me pick a second one, I'd probably go Diaby. But I mean, man, Matty Cash and Ollie Watkins are right there too. So
hmm
can't really go wrong. And then I put this team on there just because it's interesting. We think it's probably Salah, but is there anyone else that has a shout for Player of the Year for Liverpool? Alisson, perhaps. Trent has at least been back. He's been playing a lot better.
Yeah.
Sabozalai has been absolutely fantastic for
hmm
them, and a lot of people, especially with rival fans, are very like, "Oh, one goal, no assist," and it's like, okay, I don't know if you're watching what he's doing out there, but the work he's putting in as a 8 is fantastic. McAllister's been good and a lot better at that 6 kind of pivot spot than I thought he would be.
Yeah. I
I've
think.
actually been not super impressed with their attack. I think their second best attack guy this year's probably been Darweezy Habibi,
hmm
which is kind of weird.
Yeah, it feels like Diaz hasn't quite hit the levels that we saw before. Jota has been kind of meh. Gakpo has been kind of meh.
It feels like Gakpo, Diaz, and Jota kind of rotate whose turn it is to do something.
Yeah. Yeah, I think obviously Salah's got to be number one, but then yeah, if you're looking at that second spot,
Would you go Allison or Trent? Probably
Allison's
Allison.
probably always in that conversation for sure. And then Trent has been great, and I think Robertson has been great as well too. But
Yeah, good bounce back here for both the fullbacks.
some good options, like you said, McAllister and Sabozalai has been excellent so far. They've really fit into the team nicely, I think, and that's something we've talked about previously. Is this seems to be Liverpool's something that they're really good at is just bringing in guys and
Plugging and
acclimating them
playing.
to
They
the
know
team.
their transfer strategy is fantastic because they know exactly what they need.
Yeah.
Mhm. So the whole getting, Endo, people were kind of crapping on them about. They haven't even really used him that much. He's been kind of what we thought when they signed him, where it's like he's just a rotational guy. So we'll see. Maybe as the year goes on, he'll play a little bigger role for them against lower Premier League sides. But yeah, they really haven't had to use him. They just use McAllister.
Yeah.
All right, Sam. There's one thing I sent you earlier in the week that was we laugh at expected goals and stuff like that, and what it really means, but the whole points table based on expected goals that the Premier League kind of tweeted out
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and you can see who's been who's getting unlucky, who's kind of fortunate, and I compiled the biggest teams that move around up and down as far as who's outgained their expected performance versus who's kind of below expected performance. So we're going to
Yep.
go over most fortunate clubs so far, and we're going to rank them as far as how fortunate you think they are. Okay. So we'll start off. We have Tottenham, based on expected goals, which again we take with a grain of salt, but to a certain extent, it tells about 20% of the story. We'll say 25% of the story, somewhere in there. Based on that, Tottenham sitting in 7th. And you think about what's happened so far, especially last month, to the draw with Arsenal was good, even though it was a Jorginho error. They don't win that game, but it happened, so they draw. There's a completely missed goal for Liverpool that completely changed the course of the game, and it ended up they won that game because they had an own goal at the end scored for them.
And the red card as well.
And the red card as well, yeah. So a couple things kind of bouncing their way, to say the least. Even like the Sheffield United game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how any team in the right mind blows that, but I guess we saw Brentford blow it, so is what it is. I don't know. It feels like they're kind of fortunate this year so far, no?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I would rank them right there, number one, most fortunate. Not saying that they haven't been good, but definitely luck has
Yes.
been on their side. And this is something we've talked about too, is that their strength of schedule to start the season has been pretty easy. I mean, they faced like all the bottom teams so far.
And they've played Arsenal, Liverpool, and United.
Mhm.
And they beat Liverpool, obviously, given the situation that game was. Drew Arsenal, and they beat United. And United right now, this is when you want to be playing Man U,
Yeah.
because they're just a shell of themselves, or what they're supposed to be. But yeah, they beat Burnley, they beat Bournemouth, they beat Sheffield, they beat Luton,
Yeah.
and they drew with Brentford, who are not very good so far.
Yeah. So that's something that definitely has to be considered. All those things brought together. I think that puts him at number one most fortunate.
Okay. We'll keep going down the list and rank them at the end here. Next up, we have Brighton. Brighton sitting in 6th at the moment. They're 10th in that expected goals, expected kind of performance table. I think part of that is just, they haven't been creating as many chances as years past, but I mean, they still have more quality now than they ever have. So they're bound to score more goals, than what are expected. I mean, remember the days, Sam, where Brighton were near the tops in expected goals and they couldn't crack anything
Yeah,
because they just
absolutely.
they'd have Neil Maupay, or they had,
They
who
were
else
like
they
the
have?
OG expected goals team.
They're the OG analytics team, yeah. Like it is what it is, but yeah, now and they're getting more rotation in with some of the younger guys. We talked about De Zerbi's tactics. It feels like there's a bit more hit or miss this year than last year, but do you think that that's fair, that they should be a bit lower on the table? Because I honestly, when I saw it, I was like, I felt like 6th feels about right. There's one or two games where they kind of got smoked, And with all the analytics stuff, whenever goal differential is huge for that stuff for whatever reason. And it's like, you know what? Sometimes teams are just good at winning closer and then they lose big. It just happens. Doesn't mean that they're, necessarily fraudulent, but I don't know. I saw that and I was not as peak. It didn't pique my interest as much as a couple other teams that we listed.
It's hard to look at a team like Brighton and look at their schedule so far, the games that they've played, how many goals they've scored so far this season. Luton, they scored 4. Wolves, they scored 4. Newcastle, 3. United, 3. Bournemouth, 3. Liverpool, 2. They've scored a lot of goals so far this season, so it's hard to look at a team that scores that much and say that they don't deserve it.
See that,
Obvious,
and that's what I'm
obviously,
saying.
there's a couple of red flags with the Villa game, and maybe even the West Ham game.
Yeah, I think that that's kind of what it catches your eye when you look at this. It's like, I don't know, and then you see those, and you're like, that just factors the analytics factors that in more than we do. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah,
It's those games we just write up and we're like, you know,
it
chalk it
happens.
up to exactly. But analytics, they actually take that into account more than we do. Third up, we got West Ham. West Ham right now sitting in 7th. You go based off the expected performance, the expected goals table. They're sitting 14th. Sam, this is just a classic case of a team that plays counterattack football. And do they score more goals than they're probably, people would think? I guess, but that's what happens when you have kind of high quality players and actual professionals that know what they're doing and go about their business the right way. And you're set up tactically, correctly, and pragmatically by David Moyes.
You read my mind absolutely. This exactly illustrates that this is down to a play style thing with West Ham. They play more defensively and they're efficient on the counterattack. So obviously this particular stat is going to not favor them as much. And that's the important thing when we're looking at stats, is to add context to them. And I think that's what you did perfectly. So I don't think there's anything else I can really add. I mean, I think that applies to another team on this list. It's just kind of down to play style.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Fulham. Fulham sitting 12th in the table. Expected performance, expected goals has them at 16th. I've been onto them, Sam, as far as I just don't think they're playing as well as the results would indicate. There's a couple games that really come to mind. And I feel like more games like that Chelsea game, even though like the second goal they gave up was just sloppy and stupid, I just feel like there's a lot more of that in them this year than last year. And I think that they haven't really been punished in a certain way, minus that Chelsea game. Is there another game that I can think of? Like the Everton game, they easily could have lost
Yep.
to start the year. The Luton game, they didn't give up that many chances to Luton, but they also didn't have like a ton of chances, and they capitalized on one kind of crappy scramble that Kaminsky dropped.
Yes.
So I feel like Fulham, they're kind of piquing my fraudulent radar, as I've been saying for a bit.
Yeah, I'm right there with you 100%. Their attack has been so weak so far this season. I've been frustrated with the insistence on starting Raul Jimenez, who cannot score any goals. Looks like they're moving on a bit more. Started Vinicius in the last game against Sheffield United, and that turned out better. Obviously, he didn't really contribute, but they did score more goals. So
True.
maybe a sign of things to come, but yeah, I'm right there with you. They are peaking the fraudulent radar just a bit.
Yeah. And last up, we have Crystal Palace. 9th in the table right now, expected goal, expected performance sitting 12th. Part of this is just their attack. It's just not their strong suit. We know that. Their best playmakers, besides Etze, are probably Anderson and Gay here, which are their center backs, which, yes, obviously on the ball, playmaking center backs that allow you to play out the back, but you probably don't want that to be your second best choice of attack um, for facilitating the ball forward. But there's been, one or two games. I wouldn't say that they had fluky goals. I think if anything, they miss out on a few chances that they should score. Namely, Mateta was that last game.
Yeah,
So it, I they're probably last on this list for me, or well, at least like tied with West Ham for last,
I'd put
and
West
then
Ham
Brighton's
last.
what's that?
I'd put West Ham last, and then
West
Crystal
Ham
Palace.
last. Yeah, I'll let you. Why don't you expand on Palace and how you feel about them right now?
Yeah, that was the team that I was alluding to when we were talking about West Ham. I think it just comes down to play style. This year they've been pretty defensive. They've been hamstrung a little bit with their attack. No Elise, but they've got decent production out of Edouard so far. So I think West Ham and Crystal Palace. It comes down to play style. So I'd go um, from most to least. I'd say Tottenham first. Second would be Fulham. And then third, I'd say Brighton. And then fourth, I would say Palace. And fifth, West Ham.
I would agree with those rankings. I could maybe even you could talk me into Fulham over Tottenham. Quite frankly, just because even though Fulham's not as good as Tottenham, I feel like they've really caught some breaks. There's a world in which I think Fulham right now could be sitting at like 18th or 19th or something, and they're like, "Oh man, what are we doing?"
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's move on to unluckiest clubs, maybe most unfortunate club so far, given the points table and kind of expected goals, expected performance. Um, we have Newcastle, Chelsea, Everton, Brentford, and Luton. We'll start off in Newcastle. Part of it's just, they had such a tough stretch to start.
Hmm.
Um, but they have been playing pretty well given the fact I don't think people really have realized yet how insane of a start that was to the year for them.
Yeah,
Having to
absolutely.
play Villa, City, uh,
Liverpool,
Liverpool as well.
Brighton.
It's Brighton. Yeah, I mean, like, it just the list goes on and on. And then they get to play Sheffield and they'll win 8-0.
A
So I
very
mean,
a
it's
very decent Brentford, even though they're not very decent so far this year, but
no,
just a meme.
exactly. John Morley. Shout out Big John.
Yes.
Uh and I think Newcastle's finally rounded into form. They have the depth. They got quite the situation with Tenali coming up
Yeah.
as far as the betting goes. Which, by the way, this is if you don't think AC Milan didn't know about this and they tried to offload him beforehand, you'll never convince me otherwise. Italian teams are just shady, shady teams. I would try to limit my dealings with them.
Yeah, I think
Only
there's
Todd
something to
Bowley
be
can
said.
pull it off by dropping all the old Chelsea guys there for 20 mil at AC Milan. But
True, true.
um, Newcastle, you feel like they've been kind of unfortunate so far. I don't know if I'd say they're unfortunate. More so, just I guess unfortunate that they got dealt the hand they did. But
Yeah.
I feel like when they've played, it's been pretty deserved. It's just kind of unlucky. But then again, that 8-0 probably swung things way in the favor of Newcastle. It's like, oh, you blew out a terrible team and you hung close in other ones. So
Yeah, I would say definitely tough schedule, but I feel like they didn't start that great just in terms of performances. It seemed like there was a downgrade on last season, but it looks like they're picking things up a little bit. They did drop a point there against West Ham, but trending upwards.
that they did, but also, well, yeah, because they drew
Or
West
dropped two
Ham and they
points.
could have won. Yeah, but the thing is that you can say unfortunate or fortunate, but I mean, they could have beat Liverpool. They were up against Liverpool inside 20 minutes and Liverpool are a man down.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know.
I mean, at the end of that game too, the West Ham Newcastle game it was all Newcastle.
Yes. Chelsea, uh, points are 11th, expected performance 4th. I would say part of it, one or two results I would say are unlucky, but part of it was just Pochettino being very kind of adamant about a certain play style or really forcing one way to play. So I wouldn't say that they've been necessarily like unlucky.
Yeah.
I would say if there's one result that they for sure that didn't go in their favor and probably should have, would probably say the Villa game.
Hmm.
I felt like they at least deserved to draw that game, wouldn't you say? But other than that, does anything stick out in your mind about Chelsea kind of being unlucky or kind of undeserved as far as poor play so far?
Mm, not. I don't think I'd say unlucky. I feel like they're just not a consistent enough team yet, and some of it comes down to the play style, like you said. Sure.
Part of it too, yeah. Part of it is just play style, and they create a lot of nothing, but they have so many passes. And eventually, if you just have a ton of passes and you add that up over analytics and stuff, it's like, oh, well, they're getting forward. Oh, they're getting in the box. Oh, they're doing this. But it's like, if it just ends in more sideways passing, it's like, what's the point, you know?
Yeah.
Um, I also thought about them putting them down for player of the year, and I was gonna shock you with my pick because I know you would say Sterling.
Let me guess who you would say.
All right, let's hear it. I don't think you'd get it.
Cole will.
No, I think I would have
Uh,
went Gallagher,
Gallagher. Okay. Fair enough.
which is hilarious. The idea that Chelsea fans wanted him out,
Yeah.
and he's been better than Enzo and Caicedo. Although Enzo and Caicedo have been okay. Let's move on. It was Everton next. Everton points table 16th, expected goal, expected performance 5th, ahead of Liverpool and Tottenham. Sam.
This just supports my buy Everton stock theory. I'm telling you, folks, buy Everton stock. They're not that bad. I mean, they do suck, but there's something
I
in them.
think I think they'll be fine now because I think they actually made good signings again
Yes.
with Harrison, with Beto,
Yes.
with Danjuma. I think even if they don't really have that much of a semblance of like going forward, other than like counterattack kind of play or turning them over, and then just running with the ball, I still feel like that's enough. Their defense is, Tarkovsky's been at least better these last few games, especially, but Branthwaite stepped up well.
Yeah.
Their wide defenders are not the best. Ducore has been just as good in attack as kind of winning the ball back and stuff. So, yeah, I feel like this Everton will take the cake for unluckiest team so far. But let's go to the last two to see who can get second for you. Okay, we have Brentford, uh, who are 15th in the table, and expected goal, expected point kind of total. We're looking at 8th.
Yeah.
I just don't I just don't see that. And part of that is maybe just if Tony's on the end of these chances like he normally would be, maybe they're right. Maybe Brentford would be like 8th again or ninth or 10th. That was my initial thought when I looked at it. I was like, I don't think so. Because they're just not playing that well. I was like, well, they're missing their best player by far. And their best player is just a natural 9. So maybe if he just had those chances, they would be up there. What do you think about that?
Maybe. I think they've taken a step back. It's hard to say whether that's due to him or whether it's just a natural step back.
It
I
really
mean,
depends how you want to look at it. If you think their step back is in terms of interceptions and tackles in midfield, or the defensive aspect slash goalkeeper aspect, or if you think it's the attack. Brian Mbeumo was popping off the first like 4 or 5 games, and now it's kind of tailed off. And Wisa is being exposed as, yes, he should just be a backup kind of guy. And the young guys haven't stepped up quite yet. Shada had it going for a little bit, and then he got hurt. So, I don't know.
my counter to the Tony argument would be how many points have their goalkeepers lost them so far this season?
Uh, well, at least one. against Man U. You could
Yes.
say all three.
I mean,
So,
Flecken was very poor before that as well. You know,
oh
I
yeah,
I, I
he's
can't
been bottom 5.
can't pull specifics out of my head right now, but I'm sure there had to be at least a couple points dropped due solely to him.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
that game against Bournemouth, I feel like that may have had one. I don't remember, but I'm just assuming here.
yeah. I mean, if you give me a second, I'll pull up Brentford's stuff here, and we can kind of walk through game by game. But it's one of those things. Obviously, United, um, Forrest really couldn't done anything about losing to Everton. That was just the midfield kind of calamity game. Um, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. They make small mistakes, but yeah, for sure this United game has been bad. They've definitely had the worst goalkeeper rotation in the league. So
They're on that Southampton tier
goalkeeper, someone has
goalkeeping.
to be rotating goalies. Someone needs the carousel at all
Hmm.
times. Uh, yeah, I would settle on they haven't been unlucky, but I saw them and I was like, eh. And the last but not least, Luton.
Luton.
Luton points table 17th, expected or 15th, but they have a case to be second here, in my opinion, Sam,
Well,
because they've had some serious things go against them, and I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why. They should have had a late penalty against West Ham, which could have seen them grab their first point.
yep,
Yes.
yep.
Um, I felt like they could have won the Wolves game. I'm not saying they deserve to, but I'm saying it. I could envision where they would have won that game. Are you agreeing with that?
You know, I can't picture it in my memory at the moment, but I'm just gonna say yes
Okay.
as a recently appointed Mad Hatter. I'm gonna say yes. They should have won all their games.
Well, they could have at least drew with Burnley. Those are the ones that
They
stick
could
out in
have
my
drew with
mind.
Burnley. Yeah,
Fulham, they didn't create much in attack that game, so I can't really hate
yeah.
on them in that one. And the Brighton and Chelsea games are just not winnable. That's not feasible. So, um,
And
yeah, I
they
mean,
actually
I feel like they've had a couple.
they played decently against Tottenham after the first like 20
30
30
minutes.
minutes. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. So if you had to unrank unluckiest clubs, Everton 1, probably Luton 2. I guess Chelsea, Newcastle tie for 3 and 4, and then Brentford 5th.
Yeah, I don't know. I saying these clubs are unlucky, I feel like is it's too strong for me personally. I Newcastle maybe due to strength of schedule, but hey, they're a really good team. So, Everton,
They won't let you say that Everton and Luton weren't unlucky.
Everton,
That's
as
all I'll
much
say.
as I keep saying buy Everton stocks, still they just haven't been very convincing. Luton, obviously, they're not very good. Um, Brentford, I feel like have been very poor, and then Chelsea is just like I have no idea what Chelsea even is at this moment.
I'm gonna make you at least admit that Everton should have beat Fulham in that first game by the fact that there
I
was a
agree.
drop ball that was not called
Hey, I'm not
by
saying
Trent Leno.
don't buy Everton stock because I've been banging the drum of buy Everton stock, but still, I think we have to hold Everton accountable.
Well, yes, they drew with Sheffield. They're the only team that gave Sheffield a point, so yes, that's fair.
Well, and also they lost to Luton.
Well, that's pretty tough to beat them. As a team that Todd Bowley, he Chelsea 3-0, but
Yes,
what can you say?
yes,
Luton's a tough team. All right,
absolutely.
Sam.
I agree 100%.
Let's rank the doomsday likelihood for these teams.
This is what I'm talking about. Burn it down.
Nottingham Forest. So they've looked a lot better lately. I'm still waiting for the terrible, terrible defense to rear its ugly head. It's in there. It's in there. You can't convince me otherwise. I saw it last year. They've only made marginal improvements to it. I just don't trust it. Can you talk me out of this?
Well, I don't think Force is very good. I mean, I think their defense is it's
They're
okay.
still rolling out Joe Worrell and
They are, but it feels
No.
it feels a little better than last season. It feels more solid. I'm kind of concerned about the attack hasn't been clicking.
Awani got shut down.
Yeah,
I feel okay
he's
about the
he's
attack.
got shut down.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I think he's just a 5-game player. He starts the year well and ends the season well.
But in terms of the rest of the league, though, I think there's worse teams out there. So Doomsday, I would say like 25%.
Well, we're gonna rank these 5 teams.
Yeah.
Is what we're gonna
Okay.
do.
Well, I'm giving you
Probably be 5th,
percentages.
but okay.
I
We got
I
number
reject
1,
your
100%.
standards.
We have number 1 Doomsday team / 100%. Dude, it's World War
Yes.
III in this world of Sheffield United.
Their day has already come. The 8
Yeah,
0.
they're at Judgment Day right now.
Nah, their heads chopped off. The
Is
guillotine
there?
already fell.
Yeah. And there's just no way, Sam.
No,
There's no way they couldn't sign anyone that would change your mind.
no,
Not even, Neymar regrows his ACL and he signs on a free for him.
not a chance.
Okay. Sorry, Sheffield. I wish we had more for you, but
Messi on
I hate
loan.
your team. I hate your team. Bournemouth. Sam, I'm very concerned about the whole team in general. We were very high on this team last year, and they proved us right. This year, we're even higher on them, and they're proving us wrong. And I feel like it's Areola's fault.
I agree. Curse of Gaz O'Neill. I mean, he's haunting them.
Yeah. Because the
My
signings they made have been solid,
Yeah, they have
and they
been.
still have good players.
But the problem is, this is how I live my life. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. That's fair.
The grass ain't always greener on the other side, my friend.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
You know,
We
just
see
because
this many times.
you see this nice Spanish man with his fancy tactics,
Yeah.
doesn't mean that's
Doesn't
gonna
mean
work.
you can bring it to Bournemouth and it's going to work. Absolutely not. What component of Bournemouth worries you the most right now? Goalkeeper, defense, midfield, or attack?
I
Because
don't
for me, I
think.
think it might be midfield.
Yeah, it's
But the
midfield.
defense is spooky too. But I think it's midfield because it's what connects them that really kind of worries me.
I think it's
Because when I watch them, they're pressing up, but teams break the press so easy that there's truly no midfield there, and teams can just run straight forward and they're right at the defense.
I think it's midfield, but I think there's a bigger issue behind it, and I think that's the tactics.
Okay. So you're pinning virtually all this on Uriola, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Hashtag justice for
If they
Gaz.
sack him, who do you hire?
Big Sam.
I'd love it.
I mean,
Is Tony Pila still around?
who else is out there? I need a list of people who are out there.
I gotta say, I'm very proud of Graham Potter for not taking any job. He's holding out for a Champions League tier job because he got the Chelsea job. It's very awesome for him. Yeah, I don't even know who Bournemouth could hire, quite frankly.
Lopetegui. Go with the old switcheroo.
Yeah, I'm sure he would love that.
Well, they've been spending money, at least.
Yeah, I don't know if I would want to do that. Conte? I mean, genuinely, I don't know who it is. Is it
I mean,
Lampard?
Lampard, maybe. No, not Ole.
Dean Smith?
Dean Smith, maybe.
Nathan Jones?
Definitely not Nathan Jones. He's still in the
Javi
coal
Gracia?
mines. Definitely not Javi
I think last
Gracia.
episode I threw out Jesse Marsh is what I threw out.
Jesse Marsh, I'd actually like that. Underrated.
You get back on the train then, the Bournemouth train?
Yes, and I think he would do so well with that team. You know, that's a team where you're not winning because of your tactical superiority and because you have better players in every position. You're winning because you have heart and soul, and the 11,000 fans in the Vitality Stadium are roaring and cheering you on to victory.
Chris Wilder.
Yeah,
Move on.
I don't think so.
Let's-
Move
let's
on. I gave my speech.
Burnley. I feel like it's just they somehow got to find a way to keep possession enough to where they can just focus on their attack, because that's their strength is their attack, and it's not necessarily that their attack can only play counter attack like some teams that are not very good. When they're in possession, it's fine, and they can they could do some stuff. Uh, it's once other teams kind of get them pinned in, that's where it goes bad, Sam.
Yeah,
That's where it
that's
goes
true.
real bad.
Yeah, I don't think they're that bad. I mean, for me, I feel like it's kind of a coin flip at this point.
If they stay up or go down,
Yeah, I still feel
I
like
would
we
bet them.
haven't
I would favor them to go down
quite seen them at their best
at their.
yet.
Oh no, 100% not. And they kind of have an unlucky schedule in terms of like it's just a good spread of them facing a bunch of tough teams. They don't just have like an easy stretch where it's like, all right, this is where we got to be in form and make hay. It's like, yeah, they're playing Bournemouth, Everton, Luton, like all in one stretch. They don't really have that, unfortunately. So
Yeah, they started City, Villa, Spurs, Forest, United, Newcastle, Luton, Chelsea. That's a pretty tough schedule.
pretty tough. Play Luton in there. That's real tough.
Yeah, the Mad Hatters
Um,
going to Kenilworth Road. The Ken.
yeah, we called it the Ken. A good lad of ours put in the last YouTube video. He's trying to get that going on their subreddit and stuff, and then he said the actual nickname, but I'm blanking on it, unfortunately.
The Kenny.
Shout out to Watford's finest. Let's go to the last team, Wolves, Sam. What's their doomsday likelihood? What do you think,
0%.
Chris?
You know why?
0?
Because they have Gaz at the wheel. No.
Okay.
I don't think you could say 0% unless you're insane, but it's getting lower.
Their defense still worries me. I think it'll be fine as the year goes on, as long as they don't lose Kilman or Dawson to injury. I do have plenty of faith in them.
Yeah.
They're still, like we said, they're getting the chance creation. It's just they need the goal scorer, and right now the goal scorer is Hwang Hee-chan. He's in form, but it's like, how long will that last? Because he's always hurt. Their midfield is just like, send it to fucking Mars at this point. Like, it sucks. It sucks. I'm done with it.
Yeah.
And I know you're totally out on him, and I have like 1% of faith left in him. I just think he doesn't translate to this league, but we need something out of Cunha, and we need it like now. Same with Fabio Silva. Where is he? He was
I'm
supposed to
not
be good.
completely out on Cunha. I just don't really like him as like the sole striker. It's just kind of not his forte.
Yeah, I mean, he's
think you
kind of
need
like a
him.
false 9,
Yeah.
10 kind of guy, anyways. But yeah, relying on Lamina and Troy and João Gomez. I think João Gomez has been like one of the worst players I've ever seen. That like starts on a consistent basis.
Yeah, I mean, Lamina is like a championship tier player too.
Not even that. He's not even. He's like, who's the worst team in Turkey?
Something Spore.
Yeah, he's on something spore, in my mind. But what would you, if you rank those teams? Obviously, Sheffield's number 1. Who'd you say second? Burnley?
I feel like Bournemouth at the moment.
Bournemouth. Okay.
I can see something out of Burnley.
Yeah,
Bournemouth,
hard
I
to see
just
something out of Bournemouth with
not with
Iraola.
Iraola.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I'd say Burnley 3, and then I'd kind of put a tie probably for Forest and Wolves.
Okay. I'd probably say Wolves are more than likely than Forest. I'd like Forest personnel. And we've seen Steve Cooper stay up, so I feel okay with that.
Yeah, I think they're both at like a 5% chance.
Let's move on. A little rapid fire, Sam.
Yes.
In these next 4 games, who will rise the most from the bottom half of the table?
Okay, let me look at the table. You know, it's
Right
tough.
now, while
It's
you're
tough not
looking,
analyzing the schedule, you know, over the next games, but um
yeah,
I,
without
I
to
would
people
say
so they don't have to look it up. It's United 10th, Chelsea 11th, Fulham 12th, Forest 13th, Wolves 14th, Brentford 15th, Everton 16th, Luton 17th, and then in the relegation zone we have Burnley, Bournemouth, and Sheffield.
I would say maybe. I mean, I think just position alone, Brentford is in a spot where they could do that.
Okay.
I would say maybe Chelsea, but they're kind of high up there anyways. They're
We have
11th.
we have Brentford, have Burnley, Chelsea, West Ham, Liverpool next. 2 tough ones.
Okay,
And
maybe
they've
not.
taken
What's
2
Chelsea got?
points from their last 5. What's that?
What's Chelsea got?
Chelsea have a tough batch coming up as well here. They have Arsenal, Brentford, Tottenham City.
Okay, maybe
But I feel
not.
like that actually works kind of for Chelsea in a sense because those teams won't just sit back and make Chelsea break them down, you wouldn't think, but who knows. I think I might steal your team. I think Everton, but they have a tough set of games as well, Sam's. Everton are looking at, why did it go away? It went away. Liverpool, West Ham, Brighton, Palace. Not very easy,
No.
to say the least. Um, I think I'm gonna go with Wolves because they have Bournemouth and Sheffield in there. So I feel like Wolves could do a little bit of gain a little bit of ground in
Hmm.
there. Otherwise, the other option would probably be, uh,
Maybe Burnley. I
gosh,
mean, they play
Burnley.
Brentford, Bournemouth, Palace, and then Arsenal.
Yeah, they could do a little damage. I'm gonna stick with Wolves. Wolves gonna get hot.
Yeah.
I tell you, it won't be. It won't be Sheffield playing
I
Man
tell you
U,
what.
Arsenal, Wolves, and Brighton.
Tell you what.
I tell you what. All right, Sam.
Hmm.
How about team from the top half that's going to fall the most? Right now, we have Tottenham, Arsenal, City, Liverpool in the top 4, followed by Villa, Brighton, West Ham, Newcastle, Crystal Palace, and Manchester United.
Man, this is.
Man, you technically can't fall further unless they go into the bottom half.
Yeah, which hey, can't be ruled out.
Yes.
Let's see.
Uh,
Let me take a look at Crystal Palace maybe. Crystal Palace play
yeah.
Newcastle, Spurs, Burnley, Everton. So,
There's
kind of
potential.
50-50 there.
There is definitely potential on
Let's see
that
what
one.
Aston Villa got. Villa's got West Ham, Luton, Forest, Fulham. That's not too bad. Feel pretty good about them. What about
It's a
Brighton?
tough one. It is a tough one. Brighton's got a all right kind of mix
City,
in
Fulham,
there as well.
Everton, Sheffield United. Yeah, it's not too bad either. Maybe it'll just kind of stay the same.
You want to bet? You want to bet on that? That's gonna stay the same.
What kind of odds are we getting here?
Not very good ones. Are we sure it's not Arsenal, Chelsea, Sheffield, Newcastle, Burnley? You get a little Burnley loss in there. A little drop points there.
Maybe.
No, I tried to just see because I was looking at it earlier and I was like, man, I don't know. There's just a chance that it's West Ham who play Villa, Everton, Brentford, Nottingham Forest. That's what I
Hmm.
settled on.
Maybe some draws in there.
Yeah, also those teams aren't really going to play into their hand necessarily and be like, okay, we're going to hold the ball. I mean, Villa will. Don't get me wrong, but Everton, Everton's going to want to rock fight with them and be like, no, you hold the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Brentford doesn't love to hold the ball. Forest sometimes love to hold the ball, and that's not okay. But so I settled on West Ham for my team. That'll fall off a bit.
Okay.
Player to gain form, and also player to lose form.
To gain form.
Who's
Huh.
had a slow start, needs to get it clicking. I mean, the obvious choice is, even though he's still playing well, it's Haaland. But
Yeah, I think that's definitely. I mean, maybe you say Hoyland in terms of not strictly form, but goal scoring.
yeah, I would also. I don't know who it'll be, but I'm gonna go with a Brighton attacking player. Someone's just gonna start popping off.
Yeah,
It could be a mix of Matoma, Ferguson, Enciso, or Joao Pedro. I
Danny
don't know.
Welbeck.
Danny Welbeck.
Can't rule it out.
Could be. Could very well be.
I mean,
Could be your boy Miggy Almiron.
maybe one of Luis Diaz or Cody Gakpo.
Yeah. Liverpool have a manageable kind of schedule coming up. So who are you gonna go with?
I'll say Luis Diaz.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna go. Let me look at Man City's they got some tough teams. Man City play Brighton, United, Bournemouth, and Chelsea. Not the easiest. Uh, even though I haven't seen much from them, I'll throw, since City kind of need more attack. I'll say Jeremy Doku
Okay.
goes to popping off. I don't feel great about it. Player to lose form, Sam. Who's gonna lose some form?
I think I'd say Edward is a pick I
Slowly slipping.
might throw in there.
He's slipping. He hasn't scored or assisted in a few games.
Yeah, and he kind of felt like maybe a little bit fortunate so far this season. Just
Yeah,
looking at his historical Crystal Palace career.
that's fair. I mean, he's sitting at 4 goals right now. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And Buemo would be an easy call, but he's kind of slipped out of form, as we know. Same with Awani.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's tough to say. I'm gonna say Sterling as more guys come back for Chelsea, and
Okay.
they're not as reliant on him. That's kind of a cop out answer, but I'm still gonna go with it. So
I like it. I like it.
thank you for your approval, Sam.
Oh, you're welcome.
Any sackings?
Well, I think the obvious
We're
one
pretty late.
would probably be Paul Heckingbottom.
Why hasn't it happened yet? That's what I'm wondering.
I don't think they care. Is the problem.
Huh? I suppose.
I mean, that was kind
What
of like
makes them start to care?
their whole transfer strategy was like,
Yeah, we'll let everyone
whatever.
leave. Bring in 1 or 2 guys on loan. It's like they didn't know that the season started in August. It's like they didn't know they had Paul Heckingbottom still as their manager from Championship. Anyone else? Because I mean, this time last year, obviously, there's a handful already sacked. I think 3 or 4. Anyone really stand out to you as far as could go down? Because if you had to rank the top 3, it'd probably be Heckingbottom 1. Even though they just got him, I think it has to be Areola up there as well. And then it might just be Eric Ten Hag.
And
I don't know anyone else who's like fully under the gun like those guys.
yeah, I think so. I feel like Iraola might have a longer leash just because the owners don't want to be embarrassed that they made a bad decision type deal.
True. Absolutely.
You
After that, I just don't see who it would be.
Sean Dyche maybe.
Guardiola.
This fraudulent. Yes.
I mean, if Fulham really kind of fell off, maybe Marco Silva, but I doubt it.
Yeah. I feel like that'll end more of like Marco Silva going nutso before that happens, and he'll kind of fire himself basically or quit.
Yeah, he kind of just like craps all over himself, and the team like has no choice but to fire him. And it's like, oh,
Yeah,
it's like the McDonald's employee that like freaks out and gets caught like on video like throwing a shake at some kid.
yeah,
And it's like, yeah, we don't really have a choice. You're kind of
yeah.
just
You
done.
forced our hand into doing this.
um, any hot takes and stuff before we preview match day 9?
I mean, Luton, Club of the Future. That's my hot take. They're awesome. Their stadium is awesome. The Ken.
The Ken is fantastic.
Hot takes. I don't know. I feel like maybe it's a hot take that Bournemouth, our stance on Bournemouth and Iraola.
I don't think so. I think people kind of know it's not clicking right now.
Okay.
Um,
Maybe our stance on Fulham.
I would say that's fair. That might be something.
But
I
I feel
think the
like
idea that Man City are just gonna snap out of it. Oh, it's Guardiola. It's gonna be fine. It's just gonna be fine, Sam.
I think they will be fine.
Right away?
Once they get Rodri back, they'll be fine.
I don't know. I think they got to figure some stuff out. I think they absolutely got to figure some stuff out. I think one hot take is that Newcastle's going to start shooting straight up the table again, and I think that they're going to be right around top 4 by the next time we have one of these podcasts.
Okay. Yeah.
I also
fair.
think United it's kind of fair where they're at, and I think they're going to kind of hang around. I don't think they could be higher than 6th or 7th this year.
Yeah, even 6th feels kind of like a stretch at this
Feels a
point.
lot. It feels like a lot.
They've been so mediocre.
If they lose to Sheffield,
Well, then you gotta sack him, right?
I suppose. I laugh because it's not laughing at Ten Hag. It's more laughing at the idea of someone losing to Sheffield.
Well, I'm laughing at Ten Hag, but to each
Well,
their own.
I normally do, but not in that case. Not even that man could lose to Sheffield.
That is true.
Let's go and preview some games.
Let us.
Let us. Liverpool, Everton, Merseyside derby, Sam.
Nice early Merseyside. Everton on the come up. Liverpool, strong as always. I think it's just, you want to say Everton will put up a fight, but ultimately it's got to be Liverpool. I'm going to say 3-1 Liverpool.
One's at Anfield. Seems like it never goes. I mean, besides the Phil Jagielka one, blast in 2014-15 season. It never really goes in their favor. So yeah, I'm gonna go. Well, last year was kind of weird because Everton kind of outplayed them, but it was a goofy game, anyways. I'm gonna go with Liverpool 3-0.
Right.
Even though it's a derby, I think a little pressure is gonna be on Dyche.
Yeah.
After this one.
Next game is the Gaz O'Neill derby. Bournemouth versus Wolves at the Vitality. I'd love to see Wolves go in and just bounce Bournemouth like 3-0 or something.
You'd love to see it, but will it happen?
Probably not.
I think you're looking at a very boring game of Bournemouth holding possession and Wolves kind of just looking to not necessarily spring a counter, but do a lot with a little. I'm gonna go with a 1-1 draw, and I don't feel very good about it. Could easily be 0-0, but I figured that's what you'd pick, so I didn't go with that.
I'm gonna say 1-0 Wolves.
Okay. Brentford Burnley.
Brentford versus Burnley. I think don't rule out Burnley in this one. Don't rule it out. I think
Brentford are so weird because after this international break, they could come back and look like a completely different team.
they absolutely could.
They're very up and down for how, they're constantly around like 7th to 13th place. They're very up and down.
And think if Brentford have one thing going for them, I feel like they'll suit up well against Burnley's defense.
Yeah. Yeah, Burnley's defense that has a lot of error proneness, we'll say,
Yeah.
to their game.
Yeah.
Brentford will make those teams pay. I'm gonna go with a Brentford 2-1 victory.
I'll say 1-0 Brentford.
City Brighton at that Etihad. What are you
Hank
looking
doesn't
for in
think
this
they
one?
can do it. I think with
I don't.
Rodri back, they'll be cooking again. It'll be a tough game, but I think they just overpower Brighton, especially in the midfield. Past couple of games, Brighton have fucked around with having a youth player or something in midfield, and I mean now they have the new guy that played okay for the first half and then looked
I
completely
want to see more
gassed
of
in the
Igor.
second half. Yeah,
I need more Igor in defense.
more Igor.
I'm gonna go with City 2-1. I don't know.
I'll
I don't feel great about it.
say City 2-0.
Newcastle Crystal Palace. This one over the last couple of years has always been a weird one. I don't know why. Remember last year where it was a goalless draw, but there's definitely like a foul that should have been a pen. It wasn't called, or a goal was overturned, and it's a very odd game to say the least. Newcastle obviously will be getting ready for Champions League and stuff, so maybe a little squad rotation. And Tonali, who knows with him, he's been such an impactful player in the team so far. You could say potentially top 3 impactful guy behind Anthony Gordon and Trippier. So I'm gonna go Newcastle 1-0, but I don't feel great about it.
Yeah, past results 0-0, 0-0, 1-0, 1-1, 2-1 Palace. So I don't think there will be a lot of goals. I think Newcastle will grind out 1-0.
Oh, we're on the same page, which means it's gonna happen. Forest Luton.
Forest versus Luton. This is interesting. This
The City Ground.
if Luton want to do it, they got to do it. They got to do it at games like this. They got to try and get a point.
Yes.
They got to try and get a point.
Yeah, I just don't know. They have a lot of error proneness to their game, but sometimes Forest like clinical attack is just like, or it's very not very clinical to say the least. And they don't really make teams pay, so
Yeah.
that bothers me in this one. I'm gonna go Forest 2-0, but I don't feel great about it. I'm saying that in every one of these games. I truly don't. Like I don't have a good read on any of these this week.
I'm gonna say 1-0, and I'm gonna say 1-1, and I feel great about it.
Good for you. The Hank Zam Derby, Chelsea Arsenal.
Yeah, loser gets removed from the podcast.
Yeah, will be replaced by Watford's finest.
Yeah.
Or potentially Wolves' finest. I know Joe wants to come on the pod. We should have him on one week. Have someone on. We should start having guests on.
Guest segment.
It would be fantastic. Stamford Bridge, Arsenal. They've kind of had the edge the last year or so, but Chelsea had it going for 5 to 10 years. So maybe it's a 5 to 10 year run for Arsenal.
Maybe.
Perhaps. What are you going to be looking for in this game, Kai Havertz?
Kai
Revenge
Havertz
game
revenge
hat-trick?
game. I really don't know what to expect watching Chelsea. They could
I don't
show
know.
up
You wonder
and look
because now
terrible or
back to back wins for them,
yeah.
albeit against not very good teams, but the performances were really solid and very much actually pragmatic. There's a lot of games earlier this year where Poch was kind of like, you're like, why is he doing this? He's really sticking to his guns. Now he's kind of went back to that back four, and I think he kind of understands what his personnel is. I'll go Arsenal 2-1, but I don't feel great about it. Or 2-0, but I don't feel great about it.
I'll say
Pick with the
2-2
theme.
draw.
That's a terrible pick. Can we write that up? Can we just take that? I'd take 1 point out of that. That's the world we live in. I have to take points.
You got to
Any
earn
point
your
we get against
point,
Arsenal. Yeah.
brother.
Sheffield Man U, which is somehow the 1 o'clock game on Saturday.
Hey,
Who made these
at
games?
least it's not on USA.
Yeah, but they did this with United against Burnley too, a few weeks back. Who the hell did this? Terrible, terrible scheduling. Also, did you see the tweet? That was like, it's Liverpool fans always complaining that they don't get rest advantage and stuff. But have you seen like their our time 6:30 starts for like when they come back from international breaks over the last like 10 years or something like that?
Is it a lot?
It's like they're the highest and it's 13 and the next highest is like 6.
Huh.
It is kind of weird. Like I mean, all the teams are going to play that day for the most part. You know, it's 8 to 10 games, but still, it's like that is kind of weird. That like, why do they have it so much earlier than other teams? Very odd.
Yeah.
I guess it's part of just being a good team. You're going to be in marquee matchups. It just depends on which slot you get. But when you're Sheffield United, you get the late game.
Apparently.
They put them on late because they think everyone will be in bed anyways.
Yeah.
So what are you looking for in this game, Sam? Just because your eyes are going to have to watch it. I'm going to make you.
Yeah, this game will probably be completely awful for about 89 minutes, and then someone from United will score.
Varane or Lindelof, like crap tapping at the back post.
Yeah, something like that. And United win 1-0. Ten Hag saves his job, and United fans brace for their title charge.
Yes. I'm going to go with United 2-0. Hoyland first goal.
Okay.
Hoyland. What did you pick for that one?
1-0.
1-0. Villa West Ham. Solid solo Sunday game if you're just
Blared
going to have
and
one.
Blue derby.
Yes.
This is a solid game. Tough to pick between these two teams. Both pretty solid. West Ham obviously will probably sit back quite a bit. Might frustrate Aston Villa. They'll have to be clinical. See if they can counter on a couple chances. They probably won't have very many chances to get on the counter, so that might be tough.
No, but it's going to be open. It will be open at least once or twice. I would say 3-1 Aston Villa.
3-1, huh? I
think they're gonna roll with Aguerd. I think they're gonna, and this might be the game where he finally gets dropped afterwards. But you know how Moyes is; he loves to hold on to his guys.
That's true. He has his guys. I'm gonna say 2-1 Villa.
Okay, their all-time record is 21 draws, 14 wins for West Ham, 13 wins for Villa. So if Villa win, it's an equalizer to the all-time tally. Last but not least, Tottenham and Fulham. The Carlos Vinicius revenge game. Is this possible?
Please make it happen.
Is there anything that's catching your eye in this one? The Manor Solomon revenge game.
The man or Solomon.
You know, he's unfortunately out for like the whole year practically.
I think this will probably be a pretty comfortable game for Tottenham at home, and it'll just boost their fans' confidence, whether just or unjust. I think that's what'll happen. So I'm gonna say Tottenham 2-0, pretty comfortable victory.
Okay. I'm gonna go with the draw. I have no inclination as to why. I'm just gonna go with the draw. I don't feel. Once again, do not feel good. I feel like
I'm
this.
sick of this. I'm sick of it, Hank. You
I
must
think the
feel
best
good.
game I feel good. The only game I feel good about is Villa West Ham. I feel like Villa can win that.
All right. Well,
That's the only one I feel. That's my lock of the week. There it is. Villa's gonna beat West
I
Ham.
can't wait for you to go a perfect 10 for 10.
Yeah, well, I'd at least get the one I felt great about, right? So.
True.
All right. Any bold prediction for the week? Mudryk goal?
Mudryk, yeah, let's go.
I don't know how bold that is, though. He's on fire.
He is on fire.
Might as well say Salah or Holland score at this point.
Moondrake's on fire. Your defense is terrified. Moondrake's on fire. Your defense is terrified.
La 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 la
La
la
la
la
la
la.
la 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 la.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So what's the bold prediction? Let's hear it.
Let me look who's gonna score for Luton here.
Yes.
It's gonna be Ogbene. He's gonna cook.
Talk Bene. All right. We'll hold you to it. Until
do.
next week, make sure you like, subscribe.
And
You know
most
what
importantly,
to do. Leave a comment.
keep on perusing.
Adios, mis amigos.
Bye.